Hello and hi, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not new here, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm doing a very basic, brief and short sit down talking with me style video where I'll be discussing my thoughts and feelings on a topic while I speak into a microphone, sitting down and filming the footage on my desktop camera. In this video, I will just be talking a little bit about the subject of decision making, and based on my own experiences with different kinds of decision making, interpreted on what decision making can be about and what determines the decision you make. Learning from your experience, your decisions would be determined based on your life experiences or what you are experiencing in the current stage of your life, or in the past, or in the future, whatever that may be. How your decisions are impacted by your experiences and what you've experienced, specifically making right or wrong decisions. And how do you determine in these specific experiences what makes a decision the right one or what makes the decision a wrong one? Knowing what you've made decisions and what decisions you make from that experience of making the decisions before. So how many times have you had to go through the matter or the challenge of making a big decision? What from your experiences can determine and aid you and help you in making a decision from the experiences that you've experienced to try and make a big decision in the past? The subject of how do you know when a decision is a right decision or a wrong decision, or how do you know when a decision is a good decision or a bad decision, and how can you tell which decision to make might be the good decision, bad decision, or might be the right decision or wrong decision, which decision to go for. So from my experience, decisions have been very black and white. Sometimes it's either all or nothing. Speaking for myself, a decision that is good or bad, I would determine it based on sometimes how much I'm willing to give or how much I'm willing to take. And if I'm willing to give everything or take everything, has been quite a common factor in my decision making since I was very little and small, because I've always had quite a determined character trait on my own, where if I wanted something, I wanted it at that moment. I wanted to pursue it and go for it, and if not, then I don't want to go for anything at all and not go for the decision at all. And in my case scenario, where making a decision might be determined on the previous decisions that I made, for example, and how then when you're presented with a task or a problem where you need to make a decision, you sort of want to make a decision. You're more eager to make a decision because you don't want to make the same decision that you made last time or previously. Yeah, so when you were previously introduced with a problem that you needed to make a decision with. So what do I mean by what I'm saying? Well, I'm just really referring to the matters around your gut instinct or intuition, and how sometimes you don't think about the decisions you make. For some people, sometimes they just make the decision based on their instincts and their gut instincts, and they just kind of live their life making decisions that are, when you're presented with a problem, they're able to make the decisions with their gut instinct and just make the decision. Also, some people, it takes some time to even make a decision, and they need more time to think about the problem and be able to solve it with their decision making style. And I think as you grow older, you do come up with your own decision making style and start making decisions in your own way, even if somebody that you know is making decisions with let's say they're presented with the same problem, but they make their own decision, and your decision is not the same as theirs. You start to become your own person and start making your own kind of decisions and deciding things for yourself rather than the person that you know who is deciding the decisions for the problem and the solution for the problem. What am I speaking about when I mean good or bad or right or wrong? So when you're making a decision, how do you know if a decision is right, or how do you know if a decision is wrong? It's totally up to you as a person what you decide is right or wrong. But when you are old enough to make a decision, that determines whether something is right or wrong for you specifically, or right or wrong in general. You might think about, how does it feel? Sometimes the way you feel doesn't determine whether a situation is right or wrong. For example, a decision that you might want to make that is right or good might feel bad or wrong, or a decision that you might want to make that is bad or wrong might feel good or right. So sometimes your feelings play a role in that, sometimes your feelings don't. Sometimes your thoughts play a role in that, sometimes your thoughts don't. Sometimes it's just your instincts that play a role in that, because sometimes when you make wrong decisions or bad decisions, you can learn from the bad or wrong decisions and be able to know what is a bad decision if you're not making any bad decisions, what is a wrong decision if you're not making any wrong decisions, and you're only making right decisions, and you're only making good decisions. How are you going to know what's a good decision? Sometimes you just need to make the decision and make your own choices in life, in a sense, where you make up your own mind on the decision that you need to make to solve the problem. And sometimes the wrong decision solves the problem, sometimes the right decision solves the problem. So that was kind of what I wanted to begin with. And yeah, so then I wanted to go into justifying it for yourself. So sometimes you already know when a decision is right or wrong, and sometimes you prevent yourself from making the decision by justifying whether it is right or wrong to yourself in your own mind, trying to prove to yourself, is this decision the correct decision or the right decision, and kind of spending time hesitating and causing yourself to have more anxiety around the subject instead of making the decision and going ahead with it, and just seeing where that path or where that road takes you by just taking the risk and the chance to see where it might take you, instead of trying to justify what it is before you take the decision, make the decision, or take the road, or follow the path that you want to follow. And why do I say this? Because sometimes you might know something is bad for you or good for you, and sometimes you might know when something's right for you or good for you. And sometimes, whether you feel like it's right or wrong, sometimes you have to apply your logic and your thoughts, that what is right about it, what is wrong about it, what is good about it, what is right about it, what is bad about it, for example. And how that, instead of trying to justify it before you make the decision so you can learn from the decision making. So instead of, for example, spending time trying to justify what you would do, what you want to do, or what you need to do is right or wrong, sometimes just doing it and then later on seeing whether or not it was the right decision for you, and or the wrong decision for you, and how that can be determined through the fact that you are not spending time justifying it and just spending time making the decision, so that next time you could be presented with a problem, you know that if it's right for you or wrong for you, or whether it's right or wrong in general. And how exercising your free will, which everyone has a free will to exercise right or wrong decisions, you will learn for yourself whether you think that, based on your experiences of making that decision, whether it was right or wrong in the first place, and whether it was good or bad in the first place, by making the decision anyway, and showing that you're not afraid to make decisions, so that in case you are presented with the same problem in the future, you might be able to make a better decision with better judgment, because you spent your time making decisions instead of trying to justify whether it's right or wrong to make this type of decision or that type of decision in the end. So that's kind of the subject was kind of wanted to go into. And lastly, so does sitting down thinking about what's right or wrong change what's right or wrong? Or do you only know what's right and wrong by making the decision to decide whether this decision is right or wrong by actually acting to make a decision, instead of sitting down thinking about, or having the privilege to sit down and have the time to think about whether this decision is a right decision or a wrong decision, or is this decision a good decision or a bad decision? Are you going to get to a point where you don't indulge in the privileges that you have and instead just make the decision so you can learn whether making the decision is right or wrong based on your own experiences, instead of thinking about whether it could be right or wrong, or whether it could be good or bad, or whether it might be good or bad, or whether it might be right or wrong. So how sometimes when you have that privilege to sit down and think about your decisions before you make them, it can also make you stall and bail out on yourself and others because you're spending too much time thinking about what's right and wrong, where sometimes, even if it feels wrong, sometimes the right thing is just to make any decision anyway. Just make the decision in the first place. Make some decision. See where that takes you. Don't just stand there and stall and hesitate and wait for somebody to make the decision for you, or for you to find a sign to make the decision, when that privilege can sometimes trick you into never making decisions and constantly developing. And kind of what you would do is entertain or feed and encourage more anxiety around decision making with any other subject that you need to make decisions for. So sometimes that education that you learn from decision making can be a big factor in your life because of any other decisions you might need to make in the future in case. And whether that be a right or wrong decision is, at the end of the day, your own judgment for your own life that you need to decide to judge and make the decision for. But what does it teach you? I guess certain things teach you different things. So when you haven't got the privilege to make decisions that are right or wrong or good or bad, and you don't have that privilege, and you know what it feels like where you have to make a decision, there's no space or room for you to sit down and think about it, and how that can teach you sometimes that can give you more of a experience to know what is right or wrong, because you're thinking on your feet, you're not stalling, you're not bailing, you're not hesitating, you're not entertaining or feeding the anxiety around sitting around thinking what's right and wrong, because you don't have that privilege. And not having that privilege, what does it teach you? It teaches you what decisions might be right or wrong to you, and what decisions are right or wrong, because you've actually tried to act on it and work on determining it for yourself. Is this a right decision or a wrong decision? Just because somebody else made that decision before, or because they're saying that it is a right or wrong decision, actually, because you don't have that privilege, you have more of a reason to kind of make the decision in the first place and be like, actually, what I've really learned from this situation is this is wrong for me and this is right for me, because you didn't have that privilege to sit down and talk about it. So how it could be a double-edged sword sometimes, how having the privilege to sit down and think about your right or wrong decisions isn't always the best, and sometimes just being thrown into the pit to make your decisions and have no fear to make those decisions, you learn quite quickly than somebody who would have the privilege whether it was a right or wrong decision, and you stand more confidently behind your decisions because you didn't sit down and hesitate and to judge yourself whether you're making a right or wrong decision. You just did it. And so the next time you are presented with a problem, you actually have the know-hows to tell yourself whether this is right or wrong, and you don't need anybody there to determine that decision for you or help you with that decision, because of the experience you have grasped from making that decision yourself and not having the privilege to sit down and think about the problem for yourself. So, or whether the decision's right or wrong for yourself, so you know next time you're presented with a problem exactly what to do. And so you learn for yourself. So that's it. That's the end of the discussion I want to talk about today in this sit down talking with me video, or talking with me. So if you like to hear more videos about me talking about certain subjects or doing certain things, feel free to subscribe, or exit the video because the video is over, and feel free to like the video if you find it interesting, or feel free to just exit if it didn't appeal to you at all. Anyway, thank you very much, and if not, obviously keep scrolling. Alright, thank you very much. Have a lovely day and goodbye.